Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and today we're here to tell you how to find and unlock all the great fairy fountains in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. At these fountains is where you can upgrade your clothes so you can withstand more damage, thus these are well worth seeking out. But in Tears of the Kingdom they are a bit more complex to unlock than they were in Breath of the Wild. There's going to be a lot of information and steps to follow, so I've added timestamps to make it a bit easier to find just the information you need. Keep in mind that this video will contain some gameplay, environmental, and story spoilers. So, the 4 great fairy fountains are back from Breath of the Wild, but if you go to any of the locations you remember from the previous game, well, they aren't there. Don't worry though, they are just at new locations, and this time around they are much easier to find, since 1, they are now near stables instead of the middle of nowhere, and 2, they produce a pink cloud of sorts that makes them easier to spot at a distance. But where exactly are all the fairy fountains at now? Well, we have the Great Fairy Terra near the Woodland stable, the Great Fairy Kesa found near the Outskirts stable, the Great Fairy Kortera near the Dueling Peaks stable, and finally, the Great Fairy Miha, who can be found near the Snowfield stable. Upon arriving at these fairy fountains though, they will tell you that the only way they will come out again is if they hear a specific instrument played by a member of the music group called the Stable Trotters. Don't they just sound lovely? It seems the task is easy then. Get the group out to the fairy fountains and success, right? Wrong! The music group has disbanded, and the band members are all across Hyrule!
Oh, what do we do?
Well, it's our job to get the band back together so they can play for the Great Fairy Fountains, but it's not going to be a simple endeavor. There's a lot of side adventures, basically quests you must go through, but before we even start that big chain of events, there's 2 things you have to do first. 1. Head to the Lucky Clover Gazette, which lies here, near Rito Village. You'll meet Tracy, who you may remember from Breath of the Wild, and a new character, Pen. They're in need of reporters to help report the news around Hyrule, specifically near stables, and if you agree to help, you'll start the necessary side adventure, Potential Princess Sightings. This kickstarts several side adventures at various stables across Hyrule, and one of these side adventures is how you unlock the first Great Fairy Fountain. Yeah, you have to do one of them before you can do the rest, but we'll get to that in a minute. The second thing you must do is gain access to the towing harness, as you'll need to tow a carriage at some of these side adventures later on. To gain it, you must rack up pony points at stables. You can get these for capturing or registering a horse, staying at a stable overnight, or simply finding a new stable. And when you have 3 of these, well, you can redeem them for a towing harness. So with that out of the way, let's talk about how we actually go about unlocking these fairies. Now, I did mention that you couldn't do these in any order, and that's because the first one you must tackle before anything else is the Great Fairy Terra near the Woodland stable. So head to that stable, and here you'll find Pen talking to 2 musicians, Violin the violin player and the maestro, who were part of the now disbanded music group I mentioned before. And if you talk to them, it'll start the side adventure, Serenade to a Great Fairy. The 2 musicians are concerned about the Great Fairy Terra, who hid herself inside her bud and won't come out again until she hears the sound of a violin. Now, Violin the violin player and the maestro would of course have gone there themselves, but their carriage is broken and needs fixing, plus their horse ran away. You can help them though, with a little bit of Ultra Hand to get the wheels back in place, and then put on the towing harness on your horse and then attach it to the fixed carriage. Voila! Now talk to the music pair and they will hop on the carriage and you can take them to the Great Fairy Fountain yourself. Violin and the maestro will do their magic and boom! Terra will finally come out, and as a thanks, she will tell you where you can find the rest of her sisters with neatly placed markers on the map. With her power available, she will be able to enhance your clothes a little bit, meaning once. After the success of their performance for the Fairy Terra, the maestro and Violin decide they want to reunite the Stable Trotters so they can help out the rest of the fairies. Problem is, the rest of the Stable Trotters are scattered all around Hyrule and can be a bit tricky to find, but worry not, I'll tell you how to track them down. There are 3 total we need to seek out, 1 for each of the remaining fairy fountains, as each of the sisters prefer to hear a different instrument for them to come out. The Great Fairy Kesa wants to hear Piper's flute, the Great Fairy Miha is in need of Eustace's horn, and finally, the Great Fairy Kortera just wants to listen to Beats' majestic drum. You can go from Fairy Fountain to Fairy Fountain directly without finding the stable trotters first, but there at the stables nearby, the Maestro and Violin will just ask you to seek out the member that is needed to access that Fairy Fountain. So I suggest we just find all the stable trotters at once, and then you can head to whatever Fairy Fountain you'd like without any extra hassle and extra steps. The order you find the music players in doesn't really matter. You can do these three in any way you'd like. This was just the order that we chose, although there's a slight advantage to doing it in this order. First, let's find Piper the flutist, who's near the Highland stable. He may not be obvious to spot immediately, but if you follow his lovely flute playing, you'll see that he's hiding in this large tree. Climb up the tree and talk to him to commence the side adventure, The Flute Player's Plan. You'll tell him that the stable trotters are trying to get all the musicians back together, and Piper is of course eager to join back in, but he has something he needs to do first before he sets off. See, he was trying to impress his friend Hyde, who works at the nearby stable, and she really wanted to see a glowing tree? Even though he didn't know what it was, he tried lighting up a tree with fireworks. That unfortunately backfired and he made a fire on the grassy fields. But now he's trying to collect sunset fireflies instead, and he only needs 10 more to make the tree glow for his friend. So, time to help him out. If you don't have 10 sunset fireflies already, let's go out and hunt for some. Sunset fireflies only come out at night, so rest at the fire if needed and then head to the Pargos Woods nearby, where you'll find loads of these fireflies. Crouch down and approach carefully since they scare easily, and collect until you have 10 of these. Report back to Piper and he'll tell you to go fetch his friend Hyde at night. Meanwhile, he'll prepare the glowing tree. His friend is located inside the stable, and once you and Hyde make your way back to the tree, Piper will play his flute, and one of the most beautiful scenes in the game will take place. Hyde is beyond impressed and really happy, thus Piper's mission is complete and he will rejoin the stable trotters. As a thank you for your help, you'll receive a big hearty truffle and then he's off. 1 down, 2 to go. The second member we'll locate is Eustace the Horn Player, who you'll find near the Tabantha Bridge stable. Oh well, it's a bit off, the exact location is at this marker. To get there, you must go from the stable and cross this bridge, ride for a bit through this valley, and then sooner rather than later, you should spot some smoke, although it's coming from down a hole? Near the hole, you'll also hear some beautiful horn playing, and sure enough, that's Eustace alright, who's found himself in a bit of a pickle. Talk to him and it'll start the side adventure, the Hornist's dramatic escape. He'll tell you that he was on his way to Rito village with music and supplies, but that he accidentally fell into this hole. His horse ran off, his supplies has gone bad, and the only thing he has left is his wagon. He'll tell you that he hasn't found a way to get both him and his wagon out, and he won't leave it behind. Eustace and his wagon aren't the only thing down here though. There's also loads of sonar devices that you must use to attach to the wagon and get you all out of there. So, I mean, he got lucky. It's not every day a guy with an ultra hand comes by to save the day. There are multiple contraptions that will work here, but this was the one that did the trick for us. When you get out of the hole, you'll let him know that the stable trotters are back in business, and since his supplies were spoiled either way, he'll give up his original mission and head for the music group. As a thank you, he will give you 3 Corsair bee honeys, and these will come in handy when finding the last member of the group, Beats the drummer. Beats is probably the hardest one to find of the bunch, but he is at a familiar location. This location is between the Dueling Peak stable and Kakariko village, and it's where you find Hestu's maracas in Breath of the Wild. Upon speaking to him, you will initiate the side adventure, Honey Be Mine. Now, he's drumming to his full content, since he's trying to attract as many bees as possible. The reason for this is that he wants to cheer up the maestro with honey crabs, but he hasn't had any luck with his drumming bee attraction method. All he needs is 3 Corsair bee honeys, which he says can be found near Kakariko village, up where the Great Fairy Fountain once was. And yes, there are 3 of them up there which you can shoot down from some trees, but if you found Eustace first, then you can just give Beats the reward you got from Eustace instead. I did say there was an upside to doing it in this order, didn't I? Overjoyed with happiness and ready to make honey crabs, he will thank you with a neatly silver rupee, and with that, he's off to join the rest of the stable trotters. Congratulations! You've found all the members of the music group, and it's now time to seek out the rest of the fairy fountains. Here also, there's no specific order you need to do these in. It's 3 different side adventures to unlock these fairies, but do keep in mind that if you start one of the fairy fountain side adventures, then you have to finish that first, since the stable trotters won't appear at the stables near the other fairy fountains until you've completed that side adventure you started. So with that out of the way, this was the order that we went with. We'll first go to the Great Fairy Kaiser, who is near the outskirts stable. Upon arriving there, you'll find the stable trotters in full motion, playing wonderful music. Talk to the Maestro and it'll start the side adventure Serenade to Kaiser. He'll first thank you loads for finding all the members. Then he'll tell you about the Great Fairy Kaiser nearby, who's still in her bud and won't come out until she hears Piper's flute. Problem is, the path to the ferry has been overrun with stones that fell from the sky. They did try to get there, but their horse just couldn't do it, plus their carriage is unfortunately broken again. You might be scratching your head on what to do here, as you can't use your horse and towing harness, but if you direct your eyes to this fallen piece of Sky Island, you'll notice a big sonar-like vehicle which you'll have to use. It's a bit broken though, so let's get it fixed right up. After attaching the fourth wheel and this steering stick, then you have to find some way to attach the wagon to this contraption. Although it does look like this won't work, don't worry, it will. You then want to talk to the Maestro again, who will make everyone jump in the wagon, and then you should be able to make your way past those rocks up to the fairy fountain with all the musicians intact. They'll now play for the Great Fairy Kaiser, and upon hearing Piper's flute, she will emerge. As thank you for helping them up there, the Maestro will give you a silver rupee, and then they are off to go find the remaining fairy fountains. With Kaiser's power added, you will now be able to upgrade your clothes a fair amount, meaning twice. But we can still bump that number even higher, so let's go unlock the remaining 2 fairies. The next one we'll go with is the Great Fairy Fountain near the Dueling Peak stable, being the Great Fairy Sister Cortera. Arriving at the stable, you'll again find the stable trotters, and here the side adventure you start, Serenade to Cortera, is structured fairly similar to the previous endeavor you had with them. You talk to the Maestro, who mentions there's a fairy fountain nearby with a great fairy still stuck inside, and she won't come out until she hears Beater's majestic drum. Unfortunately, they can't get there to help her with the music because the path is blocked. Specifically, there's a giant piece of Sky Island blocking the bridge. Beats has a brilliant idea though. How about they just cross the river? The Maestro really likes the idea, thus they all head to the river, which lies to the right of the stable. But when you get there, their plan is proving to be tricky, since even if they took off the wheels and floated across, the current of the water would make them smash into the giant Sky Island. Your mission is simple then. Make a raft for their carriage that can go against the strong current. Luckily, all the materials you'll need to build that are scattered nearby. So, get your Ultra Hand ready and get building. Talk to the Maestro again when you have a raft ready, and the stable trotters will all jump aboard. This was maybe not the most elegant solution, but it got us to the other side. And then it was time for the trotters to work their magic on the Great Fairy. Their beautiful music together with Beats' drum was all Cortera needed to hear to come out again. Woohoo! With her magic available, she'll be able to upgrade your clothes greatly, meaning 3 times. And as a thank you for helping the musicians get there, the Maestro will give you another silver rupee. Alright, 3 down, 1 to go. The last fairy fountain to unlock is the Great Fairy Miha, who's near the Snowfield stable. Upon getting there, you'll start your last side adventure, Serenade to Miha. Talk to the Maestro and he'll tell you that the last Great Fairy Fountain is nearby, but won't come out until she hears Eustace's horn. But like the last encounters with them, they can't make it there, since the carriage is broken again. Specifically, it's the roof that's broken. Actually, it's not broken at all, it's just non-existent, it's gone. Without a roof, they'll be very exposed to the cold snow and might catch a cold, and we don't want that happening. So it's your job to make a roof, and you can do that with these neatly placed building materials to the right. A single material won't do the trick, as the roof needs to be more roof-like? I don't quite understand the criteria here, but this is what worked for us. Now, get your horse with the towing harness attached and attach that to the fixed carriage. Then ride through the snowy terrain up to the fairy bud. There, the trotters will unleash their magic, especially Eustace with his horn, and that is all that is needed to unlock the last Great Fairy Fountain. The music group will thank you one last time for helping them reach all the fairy fountains, and the Maestro will grant you yet another silver rupee. They tell you that now with all the fairy fountains unlocked, they will be touring Hyrule, and you should come hear them if you're ever near stable. So with the 4th and final Great Fairy Fountain unlocked, you'll now be able to upgrade your clothes to the max, not only at Miha's fountain, but at all the sisters' fountains. And there you have it, that's how you find and unlock all the Great Fairy Fountains in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. To me, this was so much more fun to achieve than just giving the fairies a bunch of rupees like in Breath of the Wild. It introduces some new characters who are some of my favorite of the entire game, and the whole journey of finding the members and helping them reach the fairies is just a seriously fun and enjoyable experience. If you're more of a written article type of person, you should check out this guide Alana did on NintendoLoft.com on this exact subject. And with that, I'll be off. Stay safe, play some Tears of the Kingdom, unlock all the Great Fairy Fountains, and I'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Life,